and I've been told by Jim that be ready for a super chilled out, super casual, ultra casual conversation with Pravin. There are no questions whatsoever in this podcast. It's purely conversational. So
okay, cool. So you keep
nothing is scripted. Your guest number 114, Mr. Pravin. I apologize for bringing you on board a bit late because of the simple fact that I've been doing this journey all by myself, single-handedly, and it's approaching 2 years now in the first week of March. And
it's quite an achievement. I saw the one you did with Jim.
Yeah,
it was nice. It was very, it was funny. It was cool. It was like, every time somebody talks, it invokes a lot of memories for me also, right? Like about times and, so yeah, but it's awesome. So, it's a good exercise in memory, well, but my memory is not that great. So, I may not remember too many things too well, but I'll elaborate where I can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bro. So
and
we're rolling as we speak. What's the deal?
Yes, it is, and it is pretty much the way it happens at Puncture as well. As soon as a guest or an artist comes in, the record button is pushed, right? So it's just similar, very, very similar. And I pick the best of the best and mix it.
Awesome. Cool.
And the thing is, as I was just saying, because of the fact that I've been doing it all by myself, single-handedly, I have a very extensive spreadsheet and a long list of people that I still need to speak to, and hence the delay to bring you on board. So I apologize for that. But with that said, I am very, very excited that you immediately accepted my invite, Pravin. So I really appreciate it.
I was free. I was kind of jobless. So.
Oh my God, you're extremely modest. So, Pravin, thank you once again for supporting me in this journey. And I have a lot of things to talk to you about. And I just cannot wait to tap into each of those topics. But before I deep dive into a lot of things, I would like to understand a bit about your journey towards, being a music producer, your very, very early stages. I would like you to please take me into a nostalgic drive and share any of the memories that comes to your mind. That's even before your collaborations and stuff.
See, I started when I was the producer part. I'll go a little before the producer part, right? So, I was encouraged a lot by my mom and my aunt. At a very young age, to pursue music, as in, because they got me a guitar and they kind of, got me a lot of books and stuff, because we are talking about all pre-internet days and all that, right?
Correct.
So now that, I got naturally inclined to it, probably I was like 10 years old, something like that, 10, 11 years old. But I used to listen to a lot of records. I used to buy a lot of music, Beatles, ABBA, and all that kind of stuff. What was happening then, Bee Gees. And I used to be able to, I used to just put it on my record player and learn the chords and do whatever. And, the way the songs were kind of put together always fascinated me, from a young age. So as I dwelled further, I started playing bass. So I started playing with a few bands. I was a little older by then, say 16, 17, somewhere there. And a keyboard player friend of mine called Bashir was from Singapore. He had brought a little electronic gadget, which was called the Yamaha FB01 tone generator, right? And it was like a little box, it had a display, a digital display, and it had these things at the back which said MIDI, it
Right.
said MIDI in, MIDI out. And I was like fascinated. I'm like, dude, what is this? And he's like, oh, I'm selling it, some 10,000 rupees or something. So I bought it. I said, I'll buy it, and then I was reading through the manual, and then I figured like it has sounds in it and which can be triggered. Okay. But to do that, it's another process. So you're going to need a computer, you're going to need a computer with a MIDI interface. And we're talking about like 83, 84. Okay. So in Chennai, it was crazy. There's nothing, and there's no information other than magazines, and, but somehow I managed to get, through my aunt in Germany, I managed to source out a MIDI interface. My dad bought me a little Apple in 84. And I put this thing together with the software, and it was working beautifully. It was like we were able to input music, and it was able to, do what we call MIDI sequencing, right? And, so that was probably one of the primary triggers when I realized that. And by then, technology had got a little better. And, I started programming a lot, at that point. And, so the programming and the need for music arrangement and all that drove me towards production. And I was playing with some bands. I was doing a lot of session programming, jingles, ads, all kinds of stuff, right? And to pursue this, I studied in Australia.
Oh, yeah?
So I was in Sydney for 10 years.
Wow.
Which was from about 88, 89. But before that, I had already met Dilip. I had met, we had jammed together. We are all into jazz by then, so evolved into only jazz hits, And so around 89, I left Chennai and went to Sydney to study. School of Audio Engineering. I studied that. I studied music production. And I was working in Sydney as well, on the jobs. I was working in a couple of studios. And before I knew it, I was producing stuff, man. And, again, because we're talking about a time where technology was, picking up fast. There were things coming out every week. There were new, something new would come out. And so it was crazy, at that point, to be overwhelmed with all that. And I kind of, right at that point was a transition completely from analog to digital. So I went through that whole transition phase of it, right? So, and then before I knew it, man, I was a producer in Sydney. I did, produce some albums for Sony Australia, for Virgin, and I got signed with Warner. And then Warner suggested to me in about 97, they suggested, because I was doing a lot of R&B. So they looked at North America being a bigger market for me in terms of, I was signed for songwriting. So, and then that brought me to Canada pretty much, right? So that was my journey in production. So amongst all this, ARR comes, at some point and hijacks me,
of course,
through this journey. So I'm trying to do this journey, and I've been hijacked by AR, and, in a good way, because it was work. It was exciting music. It was something totally different for me to do films and to be programming for AR, and the whole the atmosphere, everything was so different. And so I started with him in 98. I came to Sydney, into Australia. Oh my God, to Toronto in 98, and I started working with AR in 98 as well. So, and and after that, it was like, I got, then I was doing a lot of production in India.
Of course.
Between 98, because I was barely here in Canada. I used to just come here to visit family and then go back. I was doing some films of my own as well. So, all that happened in 2000. So, so I got stuck with the whole Indian production thing, and I'm still producing. So, and
of course,
I left India in 2011 to come back to my family here and decided I want to spend, full time in Canada with the family. And in a way, technology had progressed enough. Internet speeds have got way faster, so we could work online, and that's also just getting better by the day. So everybody is, all the musicians I work with today have setups of their own where we're passing stuff and collecting stuff. So it's become nice, and there's a lot of freedom to work. From here on, I've been doing a lot of independent stuff. I've been having more fun producing stuff which are not for films. So which means I don't have a brief, like a situation or, a need. It's we who make the situation. So,
Nice.
So
nice.
That's my journey, bro.
Amazing. I absolutely love this summarized version to start. It's a great start.
That is the journey. But let's just say this journey in my life would only comprise of maybe 30. I mean, I would say, especially between 98 and 2011, AR, was pretty much occupying a good 50% of that journey. You know what I'm saying? So
I can imagine.
I can talk about,
of course,
projects on and off doing with him, and so yeah.
Of course, yeah, we're going to deep dive into a lot of things, but I still want to take a step back. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. You just gave a good summary of your journey, so to speak. And back in the days, again, when you went ahead to pursue your studies in Sydney, right? Was music production a thing then? That's in terms of what I'm trying to ask is, did you know that music production was going to be the thing that you want to get to, or the pathway?
Yeah.
And secondly, how did you know that music production was the thing? Because I mean, when it comes to music, there's so many aspects to it, right? I'm intrigued by the fact that you clearly knew what you wanted to get or achieve, and you went towards it.
I mean, it's like this. Firstly, in music, what we tend to do is we have a lot of respect for other musicians, other artists, right? So that's always going to be there. So there are certain artists we love and certain musicians we love, right? And I also happen to love people behind the scenes, So the one side, because when I was experiencing music, there were two layers. One is the music, and two is the sound of it, the technology of it. How the sounds are placed, how it's put together. And to me, that was as fascinating as the music itself, right? So I saw them as two different things. So one is engineering, audio engineering, and one is music. But I think as a producer, I love the fact that you had to know both, and you had to kind of be able to. So to be a good producer, you got to be a pretty good audio engineer. You got to know the boards. You got to know. Wherever you got to know your environment, and you got to know what your engineer or what any engineer is doing. So you're able to kind of figure things out, and you have a perspective. And so I think, okay, let's just take Michael Jackson. At that point, the biggest producer, one of the biggest producers, was Quincy Jones. And Quincy, well, I was like a huge fan of Quincy, and just by the fact that, the way he brought about the arrangements and the sound of the album and the harmonies and everything together. So to me, I was like, wow, because I wasn't a singer. And I wasn't like aiming to be an artist per se, right? So what I wanted to do is be able to make wholesome products. So I love the the biggest beauty of production is where we are able to assemble a team and coordinate that team to give you something. So so if I'm doing projects here, I might get like a drummer who I trust in, a good guitar player, a good bass player, and and whoever we have, right? So then we put them together and kind of you tailor and you fashion the sound around it, how everything should sound and the layers and how it's placed. And so, there's an aesthetic sense in the wholesome of it, where, and at that point, I don't want to be thinking about playing anything. I may not want to be thinking about mixing something. I'm just looking at it wholesome. I have an engineer, I'm like, dude, just bring up the vocals a little bit more, and let's, do this, let's do that. So the thing is, you are just making sure that basically in Australia, the culture where I came from, where I came from, the production culture there was labels would trust a producer to, they'd give you the artist and they'd give you the producer, they give you a budget and they say, now you give us the album, and that's it, because a label is not going to know, so basically you are responsible for the end product. Right. And now that wasn't a thing in India, because in India, even most music directors were producing their own thing. And, till AR came along, basically there was nobody thought about production even. Songs were just getting put together and, somebody was mixing it and it just got put out, right? So there was basically there was no person sitting there and going, hey, I think the vocals are too loud, or, maybe, the mix can be better, the kick drum is too, there's nothing of that, it's just something comes, it's put, mixed, given. And the music sounded like it, that's why you listen to a lot of older, music from the 70s and 80s. It just sounds like it's just in one block, and, AR came and brought finesse into it. He brought beautiful finesse right from Roja, and he always had finesse right from the day, because he's another guy who, again, admired production. He grew up from that school, right? So, and I think what AR did was groundbreaking, because he changed everybody. He gave everybody, a standard where they're like, okay, now we've got to, at least sound, like half as good, so that happened. People started taking more, so I did a spate of albums as a producer. My first stint was in 98 when I came back to, when I came to India. So I did a couple of albums for Magna Sound, which was a label then.
Yeah, of course.
And so I did an album with Vasundhara Das at that point.
Right.
I did one with Daler Mehndi. And, so there were 6 albums I had worked with them on as a producer.
Yeah.
So again, same thing. Because again, by then they had also got into the thing that, okay, we have this budget and we have this artist and you give us the album, 8 songs.
Right.
And, you write whether, whether I was also assigned as being the composer. But, when to be a producer, you don't necessarily have to be a composer. You see what I'm saying?
I was just about to ask you, because when you said you had like 6 albums with Magna Sound, for an example, I was just about to ask you, was there a composer involved in the mix of the team, or it was just purely a producer who was also composing?
See, there were, I think about 3. There were 2 actually. Out of the 6, there were 2 kind of remix albums. So
right.
But I mean, they just rearranged albums. So the other 4 were the compositional albums. So I had to compose, right? And stuff. So, but what I did was, I have this way of working where I compose, like when there's because when there's a song coming up, I tend to bring the artist into the compositional stage, right?
Yes.
So I did an album with Srinivas,
Yeah.
and that's how I encouraged Srini to to start composing, right? Like, because I'd play the chords and I'll be like, I'll be like, dude, you can you can go here, you can do this. So he started experimenting, and then he kind of started liking it, and so to me it was just production, because when I get the artists involved in the compositional stage of coming up with lines and ideas, I'm bringing their soul into the product even more, rather than them just singing. I'm bringing their soul in as well, right? So I think that becomes important. Yeah,
beautiful. I absolutely love it. I love this.
A long chat, right?
No, that's good. I absolutely love it. It inspires me, and I'm pretty sure it's going to inspire a lot of the aspiring musicians / music producers, so to speak. Just I still want to stick with music production in the context of music production again. Now, I'm trying to draw an analogy here. So, I work here in IT, and in my past life, I used to be a developer. I'm not a developer anymore, or hardcore programmer, coding in Java, C++, or whatever that was back in the days. Now, the analogy that I'm trying to draw, it's completely random. You can trash it, but I'm trying to draw an analogy here. So back in the days when I finished my uni here in Australia again, and then went into the journey of being a programmer and things like that. Given a situation or a scenario, if I had to develop something, one of the first things I would do is try and see if someone else has done that or solved that problem before I deep dive or dig deep into finding a solution to that. That was back in the days. And then as part of my evolution in my journey is when I started to solve problems on my own, and then look into other aspects. Maybe I could polish it in a better way, or someone else has thought about it in a different way, and then try and get inspired, so to speak. Now, the analogy that I'm trying to draw here from a music production perspective, when you do have a situation in front of you, how do you actually go about approaching it? For example, let's say if it's a musical piece for a guy walking into the nightclub. I'm just making it up, completely random. And then the kind of sound that you would like to put in there for that musical piece, is that, where do you draw inspiration from? Is that as part of the creative process, or do you look for references where you can get inspired and make it better in your own way? I'm sorry, it's a long-wound question.
No, it's see, you're talking about a movie background score situation, right?
It could be anything. I just made it up, that's all.
Yeah. So, okay. No, if you're saying, it's not a song. What you're talking about is a guy is entering a nightclub, and see, now, firstly, what's going to happen is, if that is the scene, obviously it'll be like, okay, is this what is the intention? So, obviously, is this guy walking inside the nightclub to go and shoot and kill a lot of people, or is this guy going inside the nightclub to go hit on a chick and and do something like that, or is this guy just going to go there and drink and act really cool and maybe spy on somebody? So you have that situation. So now that situation is going to preempt the way he enters, right? And there would be, as a producer, again, right now we're going into film production or audio design. If a guy is walking towards a nightclub, the other thing we got to keep in mind is the nightclub would already have music playing.
Correct.
So that design, with that music playing with the door shut, is going to have all the high frequencies dropped out. It'll be it'll be like, as he's walking closer, it'll get louder.
Correct.
And when the door opens, the sound changes, right? And he enters in. So that is also going to be another layer which is going to be there. So we obviously would keep that in mind, and whatever music or whatever we're going to do, we got to make sure we don't interfere with that rhythm, or so we maybe so I think what I would do is I would approach it best. But also in most film cases, these are situations where you discuss with the director as well of, like ideally in a situation like this, where because you're saying it's a nightclub, right? And he's entering and there's music playing. I would say not to have music because I'll be like, dude, that music is going to be like sub heavy and loud, as this guy's walking closer. So maybe we'll have a thing as he's walking, but something which will get drowned out by the music as he's walking towards the thing, right? But let's just change that whole scene to, let's just say if he's walking inside to a house, an old house. He's walking through the gate. Now it comes to, whether it's a horror movie, is he going to walk in that?
I love this.
It's going, obviously based on that, there is going to be, whether it's a thriller or whether he's just a guy tired and he's just coming home to have a beer and that's his house. Everything has a different flavor based on, on the movie, right? So I would do that. Now, in terms of, say, in your question of about taking inspiration, definitely we do, because every time I listen to a song, and if I find something, say it could be anything, it could be an Ed Sheeran song, or it could be, any song, it could be an A.R.Rahman song. And sometimes you may hear something they've done, right? Which will be, something unique. Maybe they'll have like a sound, one bar here and it'll flip there and play one bar there and it'll do something. And I'll be like, hey, wow, that's nice. It's like, and that gets registered in your subconscious, right? Like, and sometimes when you're doing a song, some other song, you may have some other instrument doing something else, but you can still have that same effect, having one bar here and then one bar here and then it withers away, right? So I think we are always constantly drawing inspiration from anything we see around, anything we hear. It doesn't have to be, music. It could be maybe you're watching a movie and it'll be some background score and something there, and you'll just be like, hey, wow, that's cool. And today Netflix, you'll rewind it, right? Hear it again, And I think that inspiration is really important because I think that makes you kind of different. So it's not to see how anybody else has approached a situation, because a lot comes down to the director as well, because sometimes directors may want you to do something quirky, right? So in music itself, there's this whole thing also of misleading, right? So let's say this guy is coming home to have a beer. Okay, so he comes home, we can have some nice music. He enters in, but there's a murderer waiting inside. Right? So now we don't want to give it away that there is a murderer waiting inside, because the public is not going to see that, right? So obviously we want to camouflage it. So and the guy just jumps out, right? Like, so, but
I love this. I totally get it. So what I'm hearing is you don't have to necessarily reinvent a wheel. Am I right?
Not really. But see, because I think we all, like, let's just take music by itself.
Yeah.
Music in itself has got a definition. So sometimes what happens is music and portrays a mood, right? So let's forget about picture. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's just you sit in front of a pair of speakers, right? And you hear something sad, you will say it's sad. You don't have to see something sad. Just by listening to the music, you'll say it's sad. Or you can listen to something which is funny and you'll be like, hey, this is funny, right? Or you can listen to something scary, right? And now music by itself can create all these emotions within you just as an oral experience, right? So you just have to close your eyes and the music can scare the shit out of you, right?
Correct.
If you want,
Correct.
And or it can make you feel lost in love. Okay. So, and it can be just music, and it's the effect of music on our oral senses, right? So, we are tapping into that, and we all have our limitations, right? Like, so of what we can do where, right? Like, so because that music has defined itself, right? Like,
Mm,
so if there is a difference between a love theme and a sad theme,
mm,
right? So in a happy love situation, you can't put a theme which is sad,
mm.
right? Or in a very sad situation, it should not sound like love.
How do you infuse the emotions into music, Praveen? Just out of
I mean,
curiosity.
see, there are kind of set, like I said, see, when you watch a lot of movies, and so you're subconsciously picking up a lot of moods of music,
Yeah.
you know, you're unconsciously, subconsciously, you're picking up a lot of music which is funny,
Mm,
ideas which are funny, and it's like that. It's like, say, if you just close your eyes and listen to cartoon music, like Tom and Jerry, you'll instantly start laughing, right? Like it's got that
yeah.
effect on you,
Correct.
right? It's slapstick,
Yeah.
right? And to me, because these all have been embedded into us,
Right.
we are, it's like anything else. It's these things have been embedded into us, and it's about how we use it. So we all have. That's why what I'm coming to is,
Mm,
there are limitations in what we can do. Like, so for example, in a really sad scene, I cannot put a terrorizing kind of music, right?
mm, yeah.
It's going to clash, because anybody who hears that music will say, bro, this music is too terrorizing,
Yeah.
and here's somebody lying dead there and somebody crying, and you got the I mean, it doesn't work. So so obviously it's all about sense and sensibilities, right? Like how we
Yeah.
do it. So
Right.
it's something sad, we'll play it sad, we'll figure out how we can show it sad,
Understand.
yeah. So
Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, were you saying something?
no,
So
that's
I've just wanted to, I absolutely loved what you just said. Talking about limitations, right? Just wondering. This is me being curious. That's all. Number one is music production. Obviously, varies with various genres of music. Like for example, jazz, hip hop, or anything for that matter. Right? I'm assuming you might agree with this. So, is there a genre which is more of your comfort zone, and is there a genre that you know for sure that you kind of dread and you wouldn't want to approach towards rather?
it's not, uh I mean, I don't know in what respect. See, let's put it this way.
Mm,
One thing, as musicians, what we do is, everybody, most musicians I know, through the ones I've known for the last 30 years or 35, 40 years,
mm,
have always evolved,
yeah.
right? So it's not what they start with and where they end with, and it's a constant evolve. Like every 5 years they're doing something else, or they change with the times, and of course there are some guys who are stuck with the same thing, right? Like that's also there, select few, but people will evolve, and so some will evolve very fast, some will evolve to varying degrees, right? So that is there. Now what you tend to do is, pretty much, like, I can only speak for myself,
Yeah.
okay? So influences do play a big role, what you've been listening to,
Mm,
right? And how you look at chord progressions, or how you looked at music, how you admired certain
mm,
people and for what they admired, and how much of that has got into you, right? And there's also, as you evolve, the new stuff which you're impressed with, and how much of that gets into you, right? And all that comes to as a genre. So there are certain genres where I wouldn't be comfortable. Say a full-fledged, say somebody asked me to produce a fully blown orchestral classical album, I won't be comfortable with it because that is not my niche, right? Or a big band jazz album, I wouldn't, even if it's jazz, I'll be like, it has to be modern jazz. And, and I would rely on good musicians, because to me, it's all about that, right? See, again, this production is about, like I said, for everything, it's a team which is assembled, right?
Agreed.
So if you come to me as a producer, it's not that I can't produce a full-fledged classical production. I'll just be able to put the right team to overlook it, right?
Understand.
I'll have people who will be, so a lot of times in movies, sometimes we are, there's a lot of research needs to be done. Sometimes when you're working with a period film, or, the kind of instruments you can use, and depending on how serious they are, right? Like say if there's a film showing, the 12th century or something like that, you can't have full synthesizer, you can't, you see what I'm saying? You can't have hip hop there. So that is why a lot of movies tend to go orchestral for all these older movies.
Right.
Any period-based film, it's because orchestra were always there. But which orchestras really weren't there at the time of Julius Caesar. But even then, you'll have big orchestral stuff happening, right? But that's it. I remember AR was like, pretty thing about when he was working on Lagan, especially, the kind of instrumentation. Again, he avoided all forms of electronics in that, to get that sound. And so there is this thought process there and how it's put together.
Yeah, totally get it. And one of the things that you just mentioned is, musicians evolve, as part of their journey. Some of them do quickly, some of them maybe at various levels. You've been in the West for quite a long time, and just trying to compare with musicians in India, where a composer needs to be very much aware and be able to, or capable of composing in any genre, so to speak in India. Like, depends on the movie, and that dictates the genre, or the soundtrack dictates the genre for each of the songs. Whereas in the West, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Am I right? Or am I actually wrong thinking in that aspect? So what I'm trying to ask here is, how do you see, do you feel that especially the composers in India are pushed to the boundaries to tap into various or all types of genres because they're composing for an Indian movie which will demand songs or music for various genres? Whereas in the West, let's say if a movie is about a topic, and then the whole genre is probably just stuck with that, and the composer or the music producer in the West doesn't necessarily have to be capable of producing or composing for other genres, because his niche is this genre and he kills it. I know it's quite a long question, but trying to get your thoughts, because
I'll tell you. So what you're saying, see, one is the West. I'll explain the fundamental differences. In the West, a lot of things you observed are correct, right?
Okay.
Like people. One thing fundamentally is, most, say 99% of the films don't have songs. Okay, in the West. So if there are songs, it is a music supervisor would source a song out from any popular song or
Correct.
old song or whichever, and they would place it to whatever is required in the scene, and then
Spot
they'll
on.
fade it out or cut it out or whatever, right? That's how songs are put in, if at all, anywhere.
Correct.
The so and the songs can be of any genre based on whatever is happening, right? Like, so it's not an intricate part of the thing, but it's depending on the director they play. I've seen some love songs and all really become loud and where it's almost picturized like a music video. I've seen all that also in the West, but it's still there. Now, the genre of the film otherwise is in one. So in the West, that is the case. And now the movie per se would be a 1.5 hour movie on one genre. It'll be a romantic movie, a romantic comedy, a rom-com, or could be a thriller, or it'll be a horror, or whatever, a drama, right? And it will follow it. The composer, based on a style, will do. It could be orchestral, it could be indie, acoustic. There are various genres which they come through, which the director is comfortable with the composer and likes what the composer does, and that happens. Now, in India, firstly, we have this whole thing of songs in every movie, like, which is the other way around. We have 95% of the movies have songs. Okay.
Correct.
And the songs, each of them have a situation which is pretty typecast because, nobody really comes up with it. It's the usual, hero intro song. Then there'll be one duet, heroine intro maybe. Then there'll be one duet. And then there'll be one villain song, one den song. They'll close to this, at some point in the movie, they'll interject with one song. Okay. And for no rhyme or reason, mostly. But the point is, the audience, the audience has been for years together, they've been given songs only for movies, right? And that's the only way that was part of the mass entertainment they got, theatrical experience they got of watching these stars doing these songs.
Correct.
And it was this thing. Later on, a lot of songs all became smoke breaks and all that. People would get up and start going to smoke when the songs come on. And it was crazy. But the whole point is that songs became such an integral part of this movie industry. And these big music directors were made, right? And now it's like the business is there. It's the songs are the business. The background score is secondary. It's just the composer has, in the South, the composer has a responsibility to do the score.
Correct.
Okay. In the North, the composers don't even do the score. There's different people doing the score, teams. Okay. And so even the score, most movies, I see, because I'll go about 80% of the movies are typecast movies. They're structurally the same. They have the same fight sequences. They'll have one comedy track, which will just keep coming in and out. And then, this is how generic movies are made, right? Yeah. And there'll be one story, whatever is happening will happen, and everything is done to incidentals. And sometimes they'll go to some foreign location and, and something is scored. Now, see, I'm not going to talk about suddenly there are these gems which come out. I mean, there are movies which are entirely like Bahubali and all, which just come with a complete purpose.
Agreed.
Of a period film. There are certain movies, but it's very rare. It's or you'll find some very genre defying movies also. But the point is, it's all entertainment in the end. What the audience wants and what works, and all that is there. So I think with the whole difference in the point is, abroad, when the score happens for a film, I think the music director and the director, there's a very clean plan of action. That, barring a few directors, I barely see that in the Indian film industry.
Agreed.
Something just happens, and that's how it is. Very, so it's. I think that's the fundamental difference
Agreed.
between the two.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so I wouldn't say music directors have a lot of demand on them, but a lot is expected of them, right? But rightfully so. I think in the West, it's not. If you go to Hans Zimmerman, a lot is expected of him as well.
Yeah.
Right? So, because they're all working on big budget productions.
Yeah.
So a lot is expected.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of back and forths. There's a lot of time spent, So it's a process.
Love it. It's a process. Yeah. That's a great way to close that part. Now, since you mentioned about the director aspect, the director, not the music director, but the director of the movie. Now, obviously, the music. This is just. I'm saying this as a complete layman who is on the other side of the world, who just appreciates music, what comes out of a studio, right? So what I'm trying to say here is a director who is musically aware, who is very well clear in his vision and knows the type of genre or the kind of music that he wants, and he works with a music director or music producer, let's say, and the output is obviously going to be, it will differ from another type of director who would just come into the studio and say, sir, or happy song kudunga, or rap song kudunga, or it's a sogamana song, things like that. How do you, obviously it's as a music producer or a music composer, it's you would be sort of on a high when you're working with a very well informed, musically informed director working with you, because that collaboration will mean something else, because that's also an opportunity for you to explore parts that you may not have explored before, and also the onus is on the director to push the music director or the producer to explore on the other aspects, whereas on the other side, the person who comes in, just give me 5 songs, right? What's your take on this? This is just me being an outsider asking this, that's all.
I'll see. It's everything is a case-to-case basis here.
Right.
Because some of the best directors I have worked with are absolutely non-interfering. Okay. They come to you with a brief, okay, because see, again, we're coming back to a movie and there's a situation. Okay?
Understand.
So they'll come to you with the situation song. When they narrate the script to you, they tell you the song situations. Okay, and that is the first sitting. Then say when you're doing then when you have your second sitting with them for the song, they'll again come in with the song lead and the song outro, and they'll say, okay, so here's where the song, and this is where the hero and heroine are first seeing each other, or whatever. There'll be a situation explained to you. Okay, and now what happens is, from here it's wide open. There are directors who have something in their minds, right? Which could be a song, which could be some English song, or a French song or whatever. They might bring something to you and say, sir, we are thinking like, what do you think of this song? Something like this. So we'll listen to it, and with all the merits, because see, I would want to work in a team with a director, which means I want to respect his thought process as much as possible. I'm not going to listen to his song and say, I'll do something better. That's like bad, bad energy, right? So you tell the guy, okay, let me hear it. And you picture his scene, and what he'll probably have some visual references. He'd give you what he's planning to shoot, right? And you will hear the song, and you will we try to go, okay, who can sing this? And do you have any words you're thinking about, or, hook lines or anything which can, define this scenario? So he may, for this mood, like, so you have all those discussions. Usually by this sitting, the lyricist is also sitting with you, right? So they come up with the ideas as well. So they'll be like, depending on what the director wants, and what. So what happens is you work on creating the hook, the part which people are going to remember in the song, which is going to be part of the song title. It could be anything, but it's the main Pallavi, Anupallavi, and the key is to come up to, jointly with something which everybody is happy. That, so nothing can be force fed. I cannot force something on the director. The director can't force something on me, or lyricist can't just write something and give it, or we can't just, So there is a chemistry which happens here, right? And that chemistry is important. Okay. And if that chemistry doesn't work out, then what happens is, this is any art where, you'll just be like, edadu pannitola, which just means you just want to get out of it. It can, and this thing is crazy, because this can happen even in terms of, as a producer, say if I'm working with a singer, if I harass the singer too much, right, that guy is going to be like, okay, I'll just do what you want and I'll go, so I'm going to lose a lot of his soul after that, So the key is to have everything in a healthy balance and do it. So I think, so that chemistry becomes more important than how much the director knows or how much he doesn't know. Because there you have wrong end of the equation also. You have some directors who think they are musicians and they are musical and they're singers, and they'll come and sing lines. They're lyricists. They'll come and tell you lyrics which are crap, right? And I've had some atrocious lines and all told to me, and I said, I won't do this. Sorry, like no way, and because that's happened, and so there is this lot of haggling which goes on, but I think, the best, you see the results, and where, when you have good chemistry and good, the songs work out well, right? Usually. And when the songs work out well, that you'll see that team operating again, or working together, and, there's an enjoyable experience, right, for all of them. So that becomes important, right?
Amazing.
So, so I think that is the key more than anything else. So there are directors who will just come and say, sir, resign situation. He'll ask, right? Now, I would suggest, before I even dwell into a song, then I'll play him a bunch of songs.
Correct.
I'll ask him, you don't have anything? Okay. Your assistants don't have anything? Okay. Let's figure out, let's shortlist this to about 5-6 songs and figure out which one can work well. So which kind of style. Then the next part is how to cleverly bring that style in without ripping something off, but just to be able to, and how do you make it stand out? So
I love this. Man, this is like a masterclass for music production. I absolutely love it.
I know. Oh well, man. Anyway, I don't know. It's everybody has a different way of working and approach to things, right? So I'm just giving you my approach. And see, music again. Let's not. This is not about music production, because I think some of the things I'm telling you as an experience as a composer, when I did Little John, or when I did films on my own, Otran and all that, and when I was dealing with directors, and because as a producer working with AR, I'm not the ones dealing intensely with the at the compositional level, because the song is already composed and approved, but only then I'm called. Right. So AR has made the song, he's done everything, he has an idea what to do. what he wants to be done, how it has. So it's and beyond this, yes, we are still satisfying the director. It's not like the director doesn't come and listen.
Correct.
Or has an idea, but we are exciting the director. That's the plan, and even there's a chemistry. So a lot of the directors who worked with AR, I developed a good chemistry with, so where they were able to come and hang out. So, but whether it was Shankar or whether it was Mani sir or whether it was Kadir, we all had good chemistry to work and to come up with the ideas, right? And the excitement was there. So I think that's really crucial that happens. That it should be very connected effort between the director and the music director. In most cases in India, music directors are the producers, right? So even if I say, I can't really say I produced a song for AR. AR is the producer. I programmed the song for AR, right? In the end, he puts it together.
Right.
So it is, yes, we put in a lot of our ideas and arrangement and everything, but the point is he takes it, maybe one step to 20 steps beyond, maybe even, so that happens. But again, it's the chemistry, it's him being happy with what I do, me being able to tell him what I do. It's how we communicate, me being able to understand him, and him being able to figure out what I've done and how he can kind of put it together. Right. So,
right. Amazing. I love it. So, and just on the point that you just mentioned, obviously now coming into the ARR side of the world, when he comes up with an idea and he has composed something and you come into the mix, as into the life cycle of that song, let's say we just stick with the song for now. So does that idea or that composed, whatever format that is, already has things like flute needs to come here and there needs to be some drums or percussions or whatever that is needs to come on this point, and then you develop over it and you program? How does it work?
Everything. See, we are one thing in today's world, or even right from 2000, since we had non-linear systems. Everything is flex, so nothing is set in stone till the end, right. So we may take flute parts, we may take this, we may take that, we may use something, we may not use something, but in the end, any song I did for him, I would put my picture together,
right,
of it, right. So I would be like, okay, let's get some flute, thing, and and do whatever I have to get, I get onto the tracks.
Is that a trial and error process?
No. I mean, not at our level, no. Because it's too expensive.
No, because the reason why I'm asking this is because, don't get me wrong, I don't mean to offend you or anything, but what I'm trying to ask is, let's say if you had to include a flute portion in a song, right? And then again, there are various types of flutes in there. So how do you know, or rather, how do you know what type of flute would be apt for this piece of music? That's where I'm trying to get to.
Again, see, when you're doing it, you take a bunch of things and you put what you think, but it's not like you delete everything else. The rest is just there at the end of the song, right? So it's just the takes I've used. It'll be in my arrangement, and right at the end of the arrangement, I might have 3 or 4 different other flute takes.
Yeah.
Which, when the project goes to AR, when I present it to him, I'll explain that. And he has the option of changing the flute if he wants.
Correct.
Or doing anything more if he wants, right?
Right.
But because, see, to me, the point is, say it's a song, the tune is there, the lyrics. Again, see, it depends on what level the songs come at various levels.
Agreed.
Okay? like I've got songs which have come to me with the finished vocal.
Right.
Okay. And I've got songs which have come to me just with AR singing the tune. Where the lyrics are not even been written.
Yeah. So which means
Right?
it's gibberish.
Which means then, so I'm building on the song, but I know once the vocals come and everything, only then it will get even more properly built up.
Right.
So basically the tune comes and I'm just doing the bed track. So when the lyrics are ready, the singer can sing on the bed track. We have the vocals and then we program around the chords and do whatever we
Right.
do.
What about the interludes part? Especially and
All that is at the end, bro. First,
Right.
we do the Pallavi with Charnams.
yeah.
And then we plan for the interludes, how the song's gonna intro.
So that's more like a collaborative collaborative. How should I put it? I'm losing out on words. That's a collaboration between yourself and the composer to come up with a certain type of.
There's a lot of discussion always.
Right.
It's like when a song comes, it always starts with a call between me and her, and a discussion on how he sees the song, how he sees the entry, what is going to happen in the entry, and what happens, and then when the where the beat kicks in or whatever. That whole flow is explained. So you got the intro parameters, your first BGM, until where the Pallavi comes. And then then the Pallavi comes, and when the Pallavi is over, you have the second BGM. Now there, if he has an idea, he'll tell it. And if he hasn't got an idea, we do something, right? And then we present it. And then he says, we want to change it, we change it. We want to add some instruments on it, we decide what. Again, it's a collaborative, 100% collaborative, because it's his song and he has an idea of what he wants, right? And sometimes I do stuff and give it to him and he's really happy he'll be like, bro, I like it, so we just leave it like this. So
nice.
It's all touch and go, and sometimes, he'll just play something on it, so there it's a wide open gamut of
I can imagine
scenarios.
I can imagine. Of all the songs that you have produced, or rather as part of your collaboration with ARR sir, is there a song that's very close to your heart and then it holds a special memory rather? Or are there many? Does your smile say that?
There's too many, man. I don't know. See, there's a lot. There was a point where I think right in the beginning, I think my first Tamil song for him was "O Maria."
Yeah,
right?
And I love it.
And so when that song came out, I was super excited and stuff like that, because that was like my first release, first song I had done for AR. And then there was a lot of excitement during Shakalaka Baby. Was another one, because I remember I had to catch a flight and go, and these guys were making me sing, and they were like, it was insane. So there, and then there's memories, there's everything there. See, because everything is an experience, right? They're working on during Alepa Ide, Kandagunden, or Gajini, Slumdog, whatever it is, like everything was memory, rhythm, so it's everything was a beautiful memory there, bro, because
I can imagine.
To me that place was so spiritual. Like when you sit there and you make the song and that aura, and just the it was like a crazy, like 3-4 nights I'd just be there, without sleeping. We'd be sleeping on the carpet. And it is crazy. You just get fed, eat, sleep, program, and sleep is on the carpet for like 3-4 all break shifts, and it was madness, but it was beautiful madness. It was just absolutely bliss for me.
Love it. And any breakfast memories? I know for the fact that early in the morning Sir likes to have breakfast, obviously, like anyone else.
I've been one morning. I'll tell you what he did. is around 5:30 in the morning. He says, come, let's go. So he comes, he jumps inside. He had some 4-wheel drive. Okay.
Yeah.
And he jumps inside. He asked me to jump in. So I jumped in. He's driving. Okay. And I'm like, dude, are you sure you know to drive and all that? Like, are you okay, comfortable? Have you driven this Vandi? It's a big one, right? I think it was the Pajero or something.
Okay.
And he drove on, I think that 100 feet road. He drove for a little while. Then he goes, Vandi puncture nanikiran, just sparing car and all that. I'm like, dude, like, don't, you know. Then anyway, then he kept driving. We're listening to music, and then we went to drive-in Woodlands. Okay, and then he parks the car, and then he's like, he opened the door to get out. I'm like, please, dude, like this place is crowded, you know. Yeah, and that was the time he had long hair and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we were like, I remember we were hiding in the car and eating because that guy used to get mobbed, you know, and.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and even at that point, it was like people saw him, and a little commotion and all that. So that breakfast memory was insane, you know. Other than that, like other lots of other breakfasts would be sleepy breakfasts. Would have been working till 5 a.m, slept for 3-4 hours, just get up to eat something, and then
yeah.
But
what would you guys chat about during breakfast and stuff? Just off the record stuff.
Mostly me and AR, one thing, right from day one, from the day I met him, which was in 85 or something, when he was Dilip.
Yeah.
We constantly only spoke about gear. So when I went to Australia, he used to call me and we used to talk about gear. And only gear, equipment, so now all that from gear, from hardware has become software, plugins, all that stuff. And we just talk about gear and tech. And we both have I don't know, that's the thing. We don't talk, we've never spoken about movies or anything else, like what movie you saw, which movies or places. I don't know. We kind of just mostly gear and tech related stuff, production related stuff, music, but
nice. And
exciting.
And I mean, of course, during the phase that you were in the past, where Clinton, Srinivas and of course AR sir were all together. Any memories of hanging out with them in the studio? Anything that stands out for you? Because obviously Srinivas sir and Clinton and all have had major contributions as part of this journey as well. So,
man, see, again, it's all spurts for me because
right.
I met Srini at AR Studio,
right,
the first time, and we met over a game of cricket. On TV, there was a match going on. India was playing badly. Srini was sitting and watching, and I came and joined him. I just sat there and I started watching, and both of us were cursing the Indian team. And then he's like, I'm Srinivas and I'm Pravin. And he goes, oh, you're AR's friend from Australia. And I heard about you. AR told me about you and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I just came in and, some work. And, I was all excited. And and at that point, Srini and me hit it off on that day. And today we are like best friends, and which is amazing. So, and that happened at AR Studio, where Srini and me continued our journey. His album with Magna Sound, and then progressed, and he worked with me in Little John. He co-composed a lot of the songs with me. So he's been part of my journey as well, and that came from AR Studio. With Clinton, of course, it was much later because Clinton, we were talking about Alepai there and all that. So no, actually, Clinton was bizarre because after I met Clinton, I made him sing in my movie Pooku Porandanal, which Clinton sang for Little John, and so there's lots of memories with that. I remember Karthik coming in for Boys, and for doing Girlfriend Venom at that time, and when after that he became a sensation.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of memories of so many people,
Mm.
across time there, and musicians as well, Showmani and
Yeah.
Naveen, and so it's crazy, Prasanna, like just so many musicians, so many singers. I was fortunate to meet, and work with so many, and then Shankar Mahadevan or Hariharan,
Yeah.
get to know them personally and hang out with them, Sukhwinder. So AR's place just connected me, with so many people, with so many souls, and it was crazy. It was a pleasure being there, bro. That's it. At a studio.
I love it. I love hearing these stories. And I'm sure there will be a little special memory that you might be able to share when AR sir obviously visited Canada, and there was a street named after him. And I absolutely love the picture of both of you together, and you're holding that street sign and taking a picture. Anything that you can share about that?
That was like, he just called me out of the blue and told
Yeah.
me, he's coming to Toronto, and they're honoring him with the street, I think.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Okay. Wow. And so I don't know. There was some function. I didn't go for that.
Yeah.
Because I was in Markham. And then later he invited me to his hotel. So, I went with my family, met up with him, and then he showed me the sign. And I was like, yeah, I think that street is still there in Markham somewhere. But
Oh yeah.
I think it's yet to be developed. Yeah. Maybe he'll come and set up something there.
Have you visited that street later?
No. I mean, it's a Mark Street, but I think it's not developed yet. Like
Understand.
It's just empty plots, right? So
Right.
nothing there.
So, but the street sign is still there, right?
I'm not sure. I don't think. I think that street sign was commemorative. I don't think
Understand.
they actually erected a sign and put a street. I don't think they built a road even. It's like in the plan, and it's going to happen.
But it's been a while though, right? Shouldn't that have happened over the years?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know, man. Now COVID. I've not even been checking. The last 5 years, what happened. Could have. Maybe there's a street and there are houses there. I don't know.
Yeah.
You should Google and check out. Yeah,
And-
on Street, Markham.
Right. And then, look, just some closing thoughts. How do you see the evolution of music from the time when you first started and then the era that we are in right now? What's your thoughts?
It's all. See, everything looks to me. It looks like this. Music. When I started, I started with an acoustic guitar. So to me, music was an instrument you play, and that, right? Like there was this whole experience, organic experience you have. Or when a band plays and all that, it's still a complete organic experience. A bunch of people playing and doing that, right? I just see music today. It's evolved into so much technology, and with so much artificial intelligence coming in its own little way, right? And things are becoming easier, and lots of machines are doing loops and doing stuff, and so people are a lot of people are taking the easy way out, and so it's easy to get lost in that and to forget the fundamentals of music. So I think a lot of I'm not saying everybody. There are still really talented young kids around, but I noticed that, and I think, and I can't see it getting. I can just see it progressively. I can just start. Maybe in 10 years from now, computers will be composing and doing things on their own, right? And they'll be able to. I mean, but you know where I'm going, right?
Understand.
Because everything is a pattern, and I think once the computers fed that many patterns, it's going to sit and rationalize and put stuff together as well. And
Yeah,
it'll do it probably better than a human, right? And, just food for thought,
Yeah.
But I
Nice.
think that's where I see one side evolving. And, but
Is that a boon or a bane,
I
Pravin?
think the other thing about music, I would say, is everything is getting more and more short-lived.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
from including the equipment to including the artists to including the song, there's nothing
And
which
including the
has a
attention
lasting
span.
value,
Yeah.
because it's too much saturation.
Right.
So with this technology, there's so much happening. See, like
Mm.
one thing which in India, say producers, when we were being producers and composers, say when you talk about the 90s to now, firstly, then there was a lack of education and the resources, right? To today you have YouTube, you have everything, you have people tutorials, you have so much stuff happening. Everybody knows so much more about equipment, and what is everything is more freely available. They're not dealing with 300% duty like we used to. And so I think all that is leading to more saturation. There's so much more music being made, nothing is able to cut through, and then there's that issue. So that's my passing thought in that. So
Sure.
I'm glad I was in an era where where we still had music sales and stuff. Physical sales of CDs, cassettes.
Correct. Yeah, I do miss that too.
Today, all that is not there, right? Like the user experience of going and buying an A.R.Rahman CD, opening it, taking the cover, and that's gone today. It's all like Spotify, read the description,
And and moreover inaccurate description too.
Yeah, and it doesn't, I think it's the whole thing of, I think maybe today that NFT culture is trying to bring that back, but saying, when it's different, when you have it in your hand and you take it and you put it in your car and listen to it, and,
Correct.
That I think that element, I'm a little sad that it's missing, and it's going to be missing till something comes up.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. And lastly, your thoughts on short form, instant fame versus weeks and weeks of hard work and lukewarm response. Similar story.
That doesn't see. Music is something I think you should not look at. The point is, what comes out of it comes out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you cannot let that define you, or get attached to it or whatever. The point is, frustration is a part of a musician, because I think when you're learning an instrument, you have to practice. You can't just pick up a guitar and start playing it. You got to practice. You got to otherwise the sound it won't sound correct, right? Like you won't be able to intend the string correctly with your fingers and stuff, right? So, and that comes from practice, right? And same thing with the drums. You want to play drums, you got to practice, and it takes a while to be a seasoned tight drummer or a keyboard player.
Yeah.
So now that people overcome it by practicing, and there are a lot of people who get frustrated and they give up learning the instrument, right? So I think music, again, it's about, you can have weeks and weeks of thing and put out lots of songs and nothing can happen, versus one person who just put out some song and it becomes a hit. But you have to look at the value. You'll have to say, well, people accepted something because it's a hit, because it gel with them, and I'm talking about a genuine hit. I'm not talking about somebody who's buying YouTube views.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about so obviously there's some reason people have grabbed onto that song,
Yeah.
right? So if you put out a song and your song is not well accepted, it's completely your fault, right? It just means you've not connected with them. I'm not saying the song is good or bad. You don't have to punish yourself, but it just means you lost one opportunity to connect.
Right.
Or whatever you tried to do to connect did not connect with the audience. And when I say it connects, means say you hear a song of mine and you decide to share it. Now, that is what I call an actual connector. So you engage in it, right? And if you don't, you sit, listen, and go, and you just leave it. Then you've not engaged in it, right? So for varying reasons, some songs go, and sometimes some songs are just funny and they become hits.
Yeah.
People will share it just because of that, right?
Yeah.
So whatever said and done, right? You have to stir. The music is something which has to come and stir the soul.
So good.
That's what we need to do, right? And I think we got to keep trying to do that, and we got to try our best to do that. At the same time, that's not the prime objective, so you don't try to formulate to do that,
Yeah.
It should happen naturally. So, and I think that's the art form everybody's trying to perfect.
Yeah, very well said. I so love it. It's so inspiring. So, Mr. Pravin, just before we wrap up the podcast and before I let you go, I'm so sorry we went over an hour. I tried very hard, but I still have so many topics to touch on. But I want to bring you back for 2.0, or rather part 2.
Yeah, your next round we'll do.
And I want to touch on a lot of other topics. So before I let you go, a message for ARR sir via this podcast.
Message for ARR sir.
Or ARR for you.
For me. Yeah. I call him bro. But
nice.
My message is do whatever you're doing. I keep seeing him pretty content and relaxed these days. And I've seen him, kind of also when he was jam-packed with work, in the early 2000s and stuff. So, and I used to keep telling him, then you need a break, you need a holiday and stuff. And, he was like, at the time, not that. But now he seems like he's found a nice space and zone. And I really wish him to be in that zone, and looking forward to hearing a lot more music and, collaborating more. So, there you go. So,
for sure. Yeah. Amazing. And a message for the music aspirants who want to get into music, because as part of this podcast journey, a lot of fans have got together and we have what's called this I Love ARR community, and there are heaps and heaps of music aspirants. So I would like to get your message, your thoughts, which will inspire them.
Music aspirants, as in
wanting to get into music as a career.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful journey. And there's nothing easy or hard about it. I think it's a journey that you just embark on, and you got to find your way through it. You got to enjoy it. You got to experience it, and do what it takes. And I think cherish that experience, and and you'll find your way. You'll find that's the way. That's the way.
Nice, love it, and that's a great way to wrap up this podcast, Mr. Pravin. Cherish the experience. I'm going to cherish this experience of interacting with you for about an hour and a half, and I'm so looking forward to bringing you back for another long discussion. And this was this bloody masterclass. I love it, and I'm going to cherish this for a long time.
It was a good one. I enjoyed the chat. I hope I didn't bore.
Not at all. I mean, I could have gone for hours, but I was just conscious that I didn't want you to beat me up later saying, hey, you kept me here for 3 hours. I told you 1 hour.
No worries.
So before I let you go, is there anything that you want to talk about or touch on before you push the meeting button?
I think this was nice and informal. I think this was, I mean, it's best, where we are at, because I think you asked some nice questions.
Thank you so much. It was just me being curious.
As far as your listeners go, also, it is that, because I can't, it's too much to go into song by song detail of how, and it's all the same process. Each process is different. There were songs which were done in 2 days. There are songs which were done in 3 months. So
I can imagine.
It's all different. But I think this is nice and tight and good. And we'll save some for the next time.
For sure. Mr. Pravin, thank you so much once again. Have a superb evening.
Let me know. Send me a link on WhatsApp whenever it's ready.
This will come out in a day or two. Because I am so excited to release this.
Just tag me.
I will for sure.
Okay.
I will for sure.
No worries.
Thank you, Pravin. Have a great evening.
No worries. Okay, bye. You too, man. Take care. Bye.